Alrighty, hello class. I'm just continuing on my presentation to show you a couple or a few of legal binding authorities I use to try to answer my question, which was, can you sue someone for fraternizing with your spouse? So I will proceed to Westlaw. So I'm just going to simply search lawsuit in the same paragraph as adultery. Alrighty. As before, I explained this case. In this case, the wife and the husband basically were countersuing each other for both committing adultery. But the case was eventually dismissed because if you go to the statute, there's a statute that explains this. Go to statutes and court rules. Here. And this statute states, if the case assigned for the divorce is adultery, it is a good defense and perpetual bar to the same if the defendant alleges and proves that the complaint has been guilty of like act or crime. The complainant has admitted the defendant into conjugal society embraces knowledge of the criminal act. Here it says the husband exposed the wife to lewd company whereby the wife became ensnared to act or crime of adultery. If you go down here to the notes, it says here, when both parties to divorce are guilty of adultery, trial court would be in error in granting divorce to either on ground of adultery. And here's a case that explains that. So here the court awarded the husband the divorce and the wife appealed. The Court of Appeals affirmed and wife's application for permission to appeal was granted. And this case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and it held that trial court can grant divorce on ground of cruel and inhuman treatment. So basically that deal was broken because it was cruel and inhuman treatment going on. But there's another case I would like to look at that helped me more. Let's see. Adultery. The same paragraph is broken marriage. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a typo. Well, I'm familiar with the name of the case. I've looked at it before, but it's Goodner versus Goodner. I mentioned this case before already, but I just want to go into depth to see why I chose this case as a legal binding authority. Now, in this case, this was the closest case I found to where a lawsuit was involved. Well, not really a lawsuit, but So here, the wife went against her husband for breach of promise of marriage. See here it says Mrs. Sarah E. Gordner sued her former husband, George, for breach of promise of marriage and was given a verdict of $1,000 by the jury. So here, This was the only case I found that involved a lawsuit. But yes. So now we will look at the last statute I revealed, which is the statute for, I'm sorry. Basically just the simple grounds for divorce statute. So here this statute just states the following are causes of divorce from the bonds of matrimony. And it clearly says right here, either party has committed adultery. So of course you are most definitely allowed to get a divorce if a party has committed adultery. But if both parties have committed adultery, then a divorce will be a little bit harder. But, and also I did a Google search just to get a look at things here. And it says in Tennessee, the law says the court may divide the assets equitably without regard to marital fault and proportions as the court deems just. And you can certainly sue for divorce on the grounds of adultery in Tennessee, whether your spouse agrees to divorce or not. So with that being said, and here are my Blue Book citations for everything that was used. And with that being said, I said no, you cannot sue someone for fraternizing with your spouse, but you are more than welcome to sue your spouse for committing adultery.